remains at bay. The Tampa Bay Bucs, Super Bowl 55.
Hello and welcome back to the Bucs Banter Podcast. I am your host, Collin Hallboom. I am joined by Scott Capron and Bo Danyard, all of the usual suspects. And we are here to provide our midseason evaluation of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're going to do the same thing for the NFL as a whole, which will be nice for us. We've really exclusively talked Buccaneers, and when we first got our start, we were all about talking about the league as a whole. Lots to catch up on, boys. We've had some busy lives, so we've been off the airwaves for a couple weeks. It's nice to see both of your faces, and I'm happy to get right into it. I mean, Bucs came out. The last time we were on was when we previewed that Thursday nighter. Bucs lost to the Ravens, obviously, and then flash forward to this past Sunday where it was a miraculous game-winning drive by Tom Brady, the 55th of his career with no timeouts to win the game after another embarrassing offensive performance. Now, you know, we're gonna generally we'll touch on whatever we want to about that game first, then we'll get into kind of our midseason shit if that works for you boys. And you know, just based on the recency of it, I mean, this Rams game is top of mind because they got a fucking win. And that felt miraculous. But I thought the defense played well. Actually, I thought the defense played really well. And I think it's becoming clearer and clearer that the offense is the biggest problem here. Of course, the D's had ups and downs, but the offense has done them no favors at all.
You could almost argue all of the low points for this defense are just this offense putting them in horrible situations, basically. Mm-hmm. That's I totally agree. The defense is playing pretty well. Nice bounce back week for them for sure. After some low effort games, I would just say, to put it nicely. But yeah, I think the thing that you're going to see on the defensive side of the ball is just them getting healthier and that helping. I think one guy that definitely stood out for me that I'll probably touch on a little bit later, Vita Vea actually showing up and being a force in the trenches was nice to see.
Woof, woof.
He's awesome.
What a dog.
Vita Vea is awesome. I didn't see the game live, actually, because I was flying back from a trip, but was able to watch the extended YouTube package after to get a sense for the actual tenor of the game. And hey, not to be negative to start, that's an awesome win, but look at what it took. It took an unreal drive from Brady with the no timeouts, and they needed a touchdown. It's not like they needed a field goal to take the lead or a field goal to send it into overtime. You know, actually going in and scoring is the difference between a field goal attempt. That might be 40 yards of field position to actually go down and score versus just having a makeable field goal attempt, right? So awesome from Brady. But if they're playing any, passable offense in the league, they lose again, right? The Bucs needed it. Felt like there was at least some sort of shift in momentum, and Brady's press conference after the game, I thought was pretty telling. He looked happy and not just relieved that they won, but satisfied and really thinking it was a good win. So that's great. But the Rams are a disaster, which I would definitely like to touch on, later in the episode here. But fuck, I don't know, man. Another week, another result that I don't know what to make heads or tails of. Of course, it's good that they won. Offense was completely ridiculous again with how many times they're running on first down. Fournette running into a brick wall, not being able to make anyone miss. Byron Leftwich or Todd Bowles or some combination of the two, however it actually breaks down, seems to be trolling everyone and just deciding, no, we're going to do it. It's truly remarkable, but I guess that's more of a macro look. From the micro side, they won the game and they gutted it out, and they haven't shown those guts in the last few in those couple of losses, right? With Carolina and Pittsburgh and even Baltimore in the second half there. So at least we can be positive based on that.
Yeah, and Bo, you said it off the top. Vita Vea was sure, their offense is shitty and their O-line's banged up, but then that's what you expect Vita Vea to do, and he was absolutely dominant. And that was the talk of the game from the announcers. And a couple other guys I thought were really great on that defensive side who have just continued to perform this year. And that's Carlton Davis, and Jamel Dean. Those two guys. Levante had a game too, man, as he does.
Yeah, Levante's awesome.
Quietly doing his thing always. And I thought Devin White looked a little better as well. And he's really come under fire a lot lately. So we don't.
There's less scrutiny from Bucs Twitter about Devin White compared to the Thursday nighter against Baltimore after this game against the Rams. That's for sure. From what I saw.
After a game like that, it kind of is very apparent. It's just like he has so much goodwill with this fan base. Like literally all he has to do is try on each play.
Yeah.
And it's just like he didn't do that for a game. And it was just a game or two, you could argue, right? Like it's tough to watch. I will say, before we get too excited about this defense, the Rams offense is in shambles. It's so bad. God. Their offensive line is so bad too. And Stafford is concussed now as a result of, almost directly as a result of that, I would say. Not like it's a win, but it didn't like, did I have fun watching a 29-point game against one of the two best NFC offenses from last year? No, that wasn't like the most enjoyable part of my Sunday.
It's such a great microcosm also for how quickly things change in this league more than other. It's like, you know, these two played in that awesome divisional weekend game last year, obviously, right? In Tampa. Quarterbacks looked great, you know, coaches at the top of their game, or however you want to put it. And then the Rams, Stafford looks dead. They have no dynamic players on off. Like obviously Cooper Kupp is really good, and he had that huge play, but it's just different, right? He's different than a lot of the other top receivers. And combine that with the offensive line play, a running back that doesn't really scare you, and it's like every 4-yard gain for the Rams seems to has to be drawn up perfectly, executed perfectly. It's just such a slog to watch them play. And hey, with that being said, then they were the perfect team that for Tampa to have to play that week, right? And they got by on the skin of their teeth, but at least they did it.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like just watching those two teams play too, like offensive line is so important. Like it's and I've like when I was like 13 years old, my profile or my little bio in my Facebook profile said the offensive line is the most underappreciated position in sports. So this is coming from a guy who's like always had a deep appreciation for offensive line play. And I'm just saying, like I'm it's even more important than I thought. And you look at the Eagles, a team who's just built through the trenches, and look how dominant they are. It's a huge, like you can't succeed without a quality offensive line. And the way that Luke Goedeke has performed throughout the year, he's been the worst left guard in football. And we've talked about how it's a unit, and if there's one bad egg, it's going to spoil the whole bunch, right? Or
sure, we get you.
Yeah, whatever. You know, I'm not the best at the same. Anyway, but Nick Leverett, who came in and took Goedeke's spot due to injury or whatever reason, because the Bucs coaches haven't been clear that they're just handing him the reins because he's clearly far superior. He looked fantastic, and this was Brady's worst game, if you ask me, because in the previous games, Brady had no choice. Like he would have to throw it into the dirt a whole bunch of times because he just had no time, and he couldn't even make a second read before he's getting hit. This game, Nick Leverett comes in, and I thought their offensive line did quite well, especially stepping up to a guy like Aaron Donald coming up the middle. But Brady was still almost like he was so used to being pressured in the way he has been with Goedeke in there. It's like he was a little too frantic himself, pulling the trigger a little too early, throwing a couple plays dead. Just what I thought. I haven't rewatched the game or anything, but that was something that jumped out at me. So
offensively, I think I guess you could say it was Brady's worst game so far this season. I feel like he was still making some big time throws, and also like guys dropping balls again on him or being hit in the chest with it.
Also, they're in 3rd and long all fucking game. Like what else is new?
And they're the worst 3rd and long team in the league too.
In history. In history
of the league. Yeah.
Byron Leftwich's offense is the worst. The worst 3rd and long.
Yeah.
I
texted you during the game, Collin, and we both observed like Lenny, like the precipitous drop off of Lenny continues. And I think we kind of like figured it out. We like diagnosed it. It seems like he's just like, he's trying to sell the screen on every play, even when he gets the ball. He just like pitter patters up to the line, and it's like even slower. Like I know he's done that like going back to LSU. Like I think like he's always just kind of been kind of shifty in the backfield, but it's like it's so much slower now, and it's just like you're not against this with this offensive line. It's just not possible for him to run with that style.
And with how
that's a great point.
And with how slow he is, this like
Yeah,
twinkle toes bullshit. 4 yards before you're even at the line of scrimmage. Like it's like I understand certain backs give you that change of pace, and then they just like Kamara might dance for a minute and then boom, he's gone. Or
yeah,
you know,
Le'Veon
is the king of that for sure.
Yeah. But Lenny needs like an 8 yard. He needs like an 8 yard runway to get top speed.
Yeah, he needs the line to be up into that middle part of the defense, like pushing linebackers back, and then he can get going, and then he can make someone miss. But a lot needs to happen before that. Yeah,
he'd be better off. He would honestly be more successful this year. I forget what it is, 2.6 yards a carry. He would be more successful this year if he closed his fucking eyes and ran to the gap that he's supposed to go to.
Yeah,
I swear to God,
he just jumps out of gaps nonstop.
Yeah, and he's making terrible reads. Like there's a lot of plays. Josh Capo from Pewter Report, good friend of the show, as always, does these great little cut ups on Twitter, and he's showing a bunch of scenarios where the O-line's kind of taking the heat in the run game, and they've clearly paved the way, and Lenny's just going the wrong way. He's pulling Mark Sanchez shit, running into asses. Like it's inexcusable. And then you see Rashad White get in there, and he just slashes right into the hole, and I'm like, oh, that's nice. That's what running backs do.
Yeah. Who knew? Who knew they were allowed to? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's painful. Fuck, I can't watch it. It's unbelievable.
So before we get more clearly into the midseason evaluation of this team from the big picture, it is worth, we're heading to Munich, boys, heading to Germany. Going to be an early game for us, playing a Seattle Seahawks team that is nothing close to what we thought they were. They're pretty fucking good.
They're not only are they pretty good, they have one of the better quarterbacks in the league right now.
Gino is our guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
he is our guy. I'm thinking about writing an article about him being the best guy who the Bucs should go for next year, whether or not Brady returns.
Whether or not.
No, I'm joking about the last part.
No, he's surpassed everything, and like I don't know how they've done it again, but like their defensive draft class has been unbelievable as well too. Like their secondary, it's almost like Legion. It's like Legion of Boom light again. It's
their
really
defense.
Cool.
Their defense has been playing better. They were pretty, spotty the first few weeks of the season, which I think was leading people to believe that the start was not super sustainable. Yeah. But the defense is playing better, and Gino looks legitimately really good. He's the favorite for comeback player of the year right now. Understandably, he's been fantastic. And I don't know, this is like a broad statement, and this is not just to get an extra dig in at Russ, but it feels like from afar, it just feels like a burden has been lifted from the team. They just seem like they're playing freer. Lockett and Metcalf, they look like Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger and twins as a wide receiver duo, but they're getting it done. You know what I mean? Like they're a fun team. They're a fun team to watch. The vibes in this matchup couldn't be more different between Seattle and Tampa.
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm shocked that Tampa's a big 3-point favorite. Like, I feel like that's quite heavy going that way.
Well, I know. I think a lot of people would agree with you, Bo. I mean, honestly, it feels like how could you make them a favorite in this game based on what we've seen? But, potential and all that and power ratings, I guess I get it. But, I mean, what? The Bucs and the Seahawks at the start of the season, we said one of these teams is below 500, one of them's above. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people would have had this, right? So yeah, just crazy.
In terms of the Seahawks and their defensive turnaround, Tariq Woolen, man,
he's awesome.
He's like the toolsiest, longest, most athletic cornerback prospect, but was viewed as too much of a project by most coming out of the University of Texas, San Antonio. and he has just been balling, like next to Sauce Gardner. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's been a more impressive rookie on that side of the
Dude,
ball.
if he had a cool nickname like Sauce, he might be right there. I'm not even kidding. Like, there's something to that. Like, he's been fantastic and like so cool to watch. And like you said, the project thing. Look at him stepping in and playing right away. Like,
he looks like the real deal. Like he's opening everyone's eyes. So, cheers to Seahawks GM John Schneider, like getting back in his bag after he was starting to get dragged through the mud, rightfully so, as that team began to collapse. The Legion of Boom. Here he comes, and he adds this what looks like a future like all pro corner. I mean, that's a little lofty of praise, but I mean, at this point, that would be.
But he's playing like it. He's playing like that. It's the toughest position on the field, I think, to sustain.
Right?
It's
can't
so
even
tough.
imagine
But
being
like
a rookie cornerback, honestly.
Which is why, like, when you do it, like, you get paid for doing it. Like, you can get paid off of one good year of being a great time for a corner, right? Like, him and that Kobe Bryant kid they're really good, man.
Not to put you on the spot, but who did you have? Did you have much of a take on that Tariq Woolen when you were doing your draft stuff? Like,
me?
Do you remember? Yeah. Do you remember?
No, absolutely. I was hoping the Bucs might take him just based on the tools because he was a Bucs type of guy, and there was lots of chatter about him, and a lot of people thought he might go earlier than he did. Where did he end up going exactly? He went with like fifth round. So like I thought the Bucs might take him because they needed a corner and they kept putting it off. And then instead they traded up for Zion McCollum, who was equal in terms of tools, like super fast and long, right? For the Bucs, they want guys with length, at least 6'2", and fast as all hell. Those two guys stood out. Tariq Woolen was like a convert. He used to be a receiver. And at University of Texas San Antonio, they converted him to corner. So he has like 1 year under his belt, and he like flashed a ton, but that obviously wasn't enough to convince most GMs. That's why he slipped. But he was certainly a guy who was talked about a lot. So props to John Schneider again for that. But he was certainly on my radar leading up to the draft. I wanted the Bucs to take him. I didn't know as much about Zion McCollum, but a lot of people liked that pick more than they would have Tariq Woolen. So, easy in hindsight. But yeah, you throw in a foundational running back and Kenneth Walker, which is a no-brainer. We all knew he would be a stud. They got Boy Mafe. Like Schneider did some work, man. He did real good.
I mean, we'll probably talk about this, but they could have the offensive rookie and defensive rookies of the year. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
Right? So good for them. And that's another reason when you have cheap contributors, aka rookie contributors, then that's what's going to lead to a team exceeding expectations in the NFL, right? It's so, the fact that they have those guys on either side of the ball might explain why they're 6-3 versus whatever they would have been expected at the start of the year, right? So,
for sure. Let's talk now. Let's kind of take a step back. We are over halfway through the season, really. I mean, it's an odd number now, so we're not going to get it right in the middle unless we do this episode at halftime, right?
Yeah, we got to go. We got to get a halftime mid-season grade.
The people are clamoring.
Yeah. So let's talk about just a couple headlines here that we can kind of organize our thoughts. Who has been the most surprising member of the Buccaneers organization, or what has been the most surprising aspect of this team? I mean, lots of surprises. Certainly not going how anyone predicted. Who wants to lead here? The floor is yours.
Yeah, like I think like the theme here might go a little negative for Bucs fans that have had 2 years of just straight roses, right, from us. So I gotta say the red zone offense has to be the biggest cliff that this team has fallen off from for me. I guess you could say run defense as well too, but I don't have the stats for that. They were number 2 in the league last year, red zone offense. 65% of their trips would end in a touchdown. They're down to like 44%. They're 30th in the league this year. It's insane. It's and like that's the reason why I put it a little bit higher. Is just like you do not expect this from a Brady offense. It's just like to get down there, touchdowns way down. Brady throwing touchdowns are just down across the board. It's just you're just not expecting this from a team like this when you think about how they came into the year.
Yeah, good.
Very good, Bo. I agree.
Yeah, I'll go. I mean, we did. As far as most surprising, I'm just gonna say maybe the most obvious thing, and that's Brady and Giselle actually getting divorced. I mean, that is surprising. I don't think we actually thought that was going to happen. Everyone made jokes about Brady playing until whenever, but there wasn't much public. There wasn't a ton of public, I don't know, sentiment about it, or we hadn't heard a ton from Giselle regarding it. And I think just how, let's face it, like the vibe is bad, right? Like we can talk, we're going to get into a lot of things here, but the vibe with the team is bad. And I think that comes from the top. And I don't know exactly how much is on the whole on Bruce Arians' plate with when he left and all that and blah, blah, blah. It's just been a weird year. Okay. And I think that the divorce thing, it actually caught me off guard that it actually happened and during the season, let's say, and it's just leading to this terrible start. And I have a few other ways I could have went with that, but I'm saving them for some other categories here. But just the fact that they actually got divorced during the season in a literal fact, or in a literal sense, was as surprising as anything.
That happening, and also like kind of noticeably leaking into the play of the team.
Yes.
And like not into the play of Brady at the same time. Like it's just like it was kind of confusing. I totally agree with you on that.
That's exactly it, Bo. Thank you. I needed that.
Yeah, it was kind of like the cherry on top of like a real nasty ass Sunday. Like, like that divorce. But I'm hoping it's just kind of put a cherry on this drama, because it's been drama filled this whole off season. So many different narratives, so much off the field shit. And Scott, you're talking present. This has been so disappointing. It has, but I'm moving forward now, baby. Like we're going to the second half of the year. And I think if there's anything to carry us forward, it would be that final drive from Tom Brady. And let's not forget that offense scored and should have won the damn game the series before, but Scotty Miller for some reason jumped and dropped a wide, like the easiest touchdown catch. So they kind of won it twice. But anyway, I like both your answers a lot. Bo, you alluded to it. You actually hit on mine. Most surprising, what I am truly most surprised by, I think, is the Bucs getting chewed up on the ground. I think it's the run D struggles. That is the one thing I thought was ironclad, 100%. Would have bet my life on the Buccaneers being a top 5 unit against the run. Shit, I'd have top 3, like maybe the best. Bringing in Akeem Hicks to pair next to Vea. You got dogs on the outside and Shaq Barrett and JTS, and then Will Golston's fantastic against the run. Rakeem Runez Noches. I mean, you got so many guys in there. Logan Hall, like so many dudes, so many bodies you can keep fresh.
Devin White.
Yeah, Devin White and Levante. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. So I think both you guys brought up great ones, and but that was the most surprising for me.
Defense is so hard to predict, man. I think I used to think it was more, we pretty much know who the best defenses are going to be, and like year to year it carries over, but it's just not, it's not the case. And even week to week, it doesn't carry over, right? You just have to try to play as solid for as many weeks as possible. Even the best defenses can get torn up. And I agree, Collin, like I would have done a huge deep dive on all 32 teams, but one of the best run defenses in my mind going like in any sort of preseason preview would have been the Bucs, and just not the case, right? So
since Bulls got there, they've been like the best, like not even one of the best.
And it's one of his tenets of his defense, right? And he loves it, and he's very old school and like stop the run, blah blah. Like, but it's hard, and they're getting beat. So
let's I'm gonna go more positive angle here. Let's skip right to the MVP. Who's the MVP so far of the Bucs for this ugly ass first half of the year for them?
Oh my God. Bo, I can go for this one.
Yeah, run it.
Okay. Well, if I were to tell you that the Bucs had the 4th leading scorer in the NFL, would you believe me?
Yeah, I actually would.
There's a kicker on the team named Ryan Suckup, who's 22 for 24, 10 out of 10 on extra points. He's the guy who's just getting those 3. He's the one who's taking the points. You don't get to take the points unless the kicker actually makes the kick, which is all the Bucs want to do, seem to be able to do, right? So, those 8-play, 78-yard drives that lead to 3 points a lot of the time, that's where Suckup comes in. And man, is he ever doing a great job? Obviously, a little bit facetious considering Brady is second in the league in passing, but fuck this team. This team's a Super Bowl contender. Or preseason contender. They've been absolutely painful. The defense has been okay, as we just talked about it. I would say none of the receivers have popped off. Brady looks old as shit, and he's up there in the he's second in the league in passing because they're down all the time. So I'm going with Ryan Suckup, and I don't care what you guys think. So
yeah, I'm not surprised that you said it. All of those red zone trips would have been so much like more sad and depressing if they didn't have Suckup, if they didn't trust the kicker, right?
And maybe they'd be 0-9 because the offense wasn't scoring points in those games they won early on we were all like wait till they get rolling. No, that's legit, Scott. Like Suckup's been amazing too. Like, he's having a career year.
He's been unreal. He's 22 of 24. He's 91.7%. I looked it up as a joke when we talked about it in the pre-show discussing what we're gonna do. And I was like, no, I think it just might be him. So let's roll.
Yeah, Bo, who you got, man?
I got and I don't have any stats behind this, but just like watching this team for the last like 2 weeks, and when he went down against was it against the Panthers when he went down? Antoine Winfield Jr. I think he's been like the one consistent key to this defense, and the pass defense especially being passable and being able to somewhat stop guys, even though they're in horrible positions time and time again. I think he's the most. He, like, to me, besides Levante David, I just couldn't say Levante just because I have to blame him a little bit for that run defense. I think Antoine Winfield Jr. has just come into his own of being like that safety that is like in the box, out of the box, lining up against the best guy in the slot every once in a while. Like, he is a very versatile defender who is very consistent and probably one of, if not the strongest, the second strongest guy on the team.
Yeah, he's elite as it gets. One of the best defensive backs in football, let alone safeties. He's proven that by sliding into the slot, like you said. I love it. I actually had Suckup jotted down as well, Scott. Which is just a perfect.
My God, that's so bad.
Perfect testament to how this season has gone so far. That we're both fighting over the kicker. He doesn't even have a big leg, folks.
No,
he's just pretty accurate.
It's not even Justin Tucker.
No, he's just pretty good, and he's leading this team of stars. So, holy shit!
I'm gonna give it to, and it's kind of piggybacking off Bo, I guess, too. Is just the Bucs secondary in general. So I talked about how surprised I am by how vulnerable this team's been against the run. Their front seven has not gotten the job done, and now they're without Shaq Barrett, so that's not awesome. But And of course, they've given up some points, but in terms of the secondary, I thought defensively that would be the biggest question mark potentially, and I couldn't be more happy with the development of Jamel Dean. It's something I predicted. He's a guy I've been on for a long time. I followed his whole career very closely, said as long as he can stay healthy, I think he'll continue to ascend. He's done that. And Carlton Davis got paid, didn't settle, and whatever. Don't get me wrong, I'm missing Jordan Whitehead back there. I am. I would love to have Jordan Whitehead, especially seeing him make plays for the Jets this past weekend. But Bo just talked about Antoine Winfield Jr. I think those guys have kind of saved their season so far. And I already talked about the early games when the Bucs D was just lights out. A lot of it was because that secondary was just shutting dudes down, making it really hard on opposing passing offenses. So, of course, naturally when your offense is so inept, points are going to be scored and you're going to lose games. You can't win a game with defense alone, especially just the back half of it. But they've been the MVP because they're the reason the Bucs are one win away from being 500 going into their bye week. And for fuck's sakes, they're the only reason the Bucs, in addition to Ryan Suckup, that the Bucs are leading the NFC South.
Yeah.
They're leading the NFC South.
And for anyone who has the audacity to make a non-Suckup argument for the MVP, I think Vita Vea probably deserves some honorable mention as well. 6.5 sacks from that nose tackle spot. Like that's just a huge raw number, man. Like you just don't see tackles doing that as much anymore, I don't think. So I love Vea. I love him. So
he's nasty. He is nasty. Spicy.
He's awesome.
Okay. Most disappointing. I tried to give us some positivity there by switching over to the MVP because I was like, shit, we can't go most surprising and then most disappointing back to back. But here we are. Most disappointing.
All right.
Yeah.
Everyone settle in. We got 2 hours to go. Just kidding. No. All right, Colin, you lead us with the most disappointing.
I mean, this is just like too easy, but like I think it's Byron Leftwich. I mean, we're talking about a guy coming into this year who apparently had the Jags head coaching job and he was standing up for himself, whatever happened there. But well respected around the league, no question. And I've had my qualms with his play calling at times over these last 2 seasons. But both seasons, the Bucs were getting wins, and he sorted it out and really did seem to find his identity and improve as a play caller throughout the year. I don't like that there isn't a consistent commitment, or you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like I just feel like he doesn't know what he's doing. But regardless, like that's because of this year. It's just been an absolute tire fire. He needs to take in my opinion, man, he takes the brunt of the blame. It's his job to protect his guys. He knows what he's dealing with. You're dealing with these offensive line issues, which I think have been massive, just at those 2 spots. But it's his job to scheme ways to fit his personnel and to find ways to overcome those issues. And he hasn't done it. And he's just been so stubborn, and it's been infuriating to watch how poorly this offense has functioned. And he's the guy calling the plays. He's the guy who stamps his seal of approval. He's the guy who runs it all. So I'm putting him at most disappointing. If they didn't win that game, I would have been furious if he wasn't already canned. Like, I think he's coaching for his job. So yeah, it's Byron Leftwich, and we all know why. We've talked about it so much. So
yeah. Did he say first down runs there? Because like,
yeah, I mean,
that is we need to just everyone needs to understand the first down runs. It is a troll job at this point.
It's unbelievable. It's actually unbelievable. Like like I said, I wasn't watching the game. I was following it on my phone, and it's happening again. And it's like some weird long con prank. It feels like he's going for, or something. Like I can't believe it. Like I wish I had another example for a coach who has been so stubborn, has had such a lack of accountability. If you listen to the press conferences, like the way he's kind of laughing it off, some of the quotes saying, I need to run the ball more, and then I can call the plays that I want, or we need to run the ball more. And it's just like, dude, this is not it. And one thing it was working, but it's not. I don't know what else you have to see. Like, it's actually it's honestly maddening. It's infuriating to watch. Sorry, now I'm all riled up. Fuck.
No, and one point I wanted to add, Scotty, just to pile on what you're saying. He's also like he's tried to be like, well, you need to run the ball in order to set up play action, which has been proven to be false, like statistically. Like, of course, to a certain extent, but I mean, you got to protect against the run. If you got the running back there, and it looks like a handoff, like the defense is going to take a second, like whether you've been running with success or not. So that's just kind of another cop out. Like, oh, he's too traditional. I don't know what it is, but whatever. Fucking turn it around right now.
I mean, this is worth, a relative deep dive from. Can you guys even fathom seeing something work or not work that often and then go back to it? And also, the secondary option, or the other option, which isn't the secondary, it should be the primary option, is Tom Brady throwing to like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Like, I can't even get my head around it. Like, I truly don't understand it. I don't understand it. I've tried to give him the benefit of the doubt for the first couple of games, whatever. Lenny looked better, take the burden off Brady. Sure, those things work. But like, if you're just speaking in cliches, like we need to run the ball to set up play action. He didn't know what EPA was when I think it was JC Allen that asked him in the press conference. And he's clearly shown almost like a childlike stubbornness regarding it and the questions that he's asked after the game. I thought he was pretty good and had been pretty good and was a viable NFL coaching candidate. And maybe, because I always say that, or most people who think about the game, coordinators and head coaches are completely different positions. Maybe this doesn't hinder his actual ability to become to be a good head coach if he ever gets there. But if the offense with these guys is this shitty, then he's never going to get a chance. Like that. Yeah. Like, this is going to be a huge hole in his resume. And just the refusal to change is bad for his career. It's bad for his brand, I feel like, as much as anything.
Yeah, if only owners like watch the tape, I'd say there's no way he's going to get a head coaching job. But I mean, Jeff Saturday hasn't coached a game at any level.
Well, yeah,
he's just been hired in Indianapolis. So
That's
who else has got one most disappointing from the Bucs if it wasn't Leftwich?
If it's not Leftwich, if you want to go the opposite end of this, I think like not even that they're so like it's been like a horrific performance. The wide receiver room is just so disappointing from what we thought it was going to be going into this game and going into this year. Obviously, injuries plays into that. I think we expect more from Julio. Definitely expect more from Russell Gage.
True.
And yeah,
I haven't even thought about Russell Gage. That's funny.
Yeah. Like the guys are just like
10
not
million
performing. Yeah, they're not catching the ball. The drops have been horrendous. Obviously, like the Mike Evans one against the Panthers is like fucking hallmark of this season for that room. Yeah, just like wide receiver room just kind of bums you out when you think about it, which is something you didn't think you'd say. And obviously they lose Antonio Brown from last year. They lose Gronk as well, which is probably like, I think I read that it was like 30% of their plays 10 yards down the field or more. They're accountable for that. So that's obviously a big hole to fill, but like you added Russell Gage and Julio Jones to that. So it's a bummer.
Bo, you're right, man. You hit the nail on the head, and it hasn't been talked about enough. But they need to be accountable because that should have been a strength of this team. I hold nothing against Chris Godwin. He's battling his ass off after a major injury. He probably shouldn't even be back yet, for Christ's sake. So Godwin's fine. He's still getting targeted like crazy. Evans had a disappointing game this week. Actually, I was very disappointed in his performance against the Rams.
Well, I'm pretty sure he like broke 3 ribs in the first play of the game.
Yeah, true.
Like, that was like one of the like
true.
weird crunches that like it almost feels like it happened in your living room. But yeah, like this wide receiver room, it's much more of a dad. I'm not mad at them, but I'm just so disappointed.
Great point. Great call on the ribs.
Okay, I'll go. I'm disappointed in myself for believing in this team. Okay, like I got caught up in the summer hype, Collin predicting a 16-1 record, and like they're gonna somehow win the World Cup coming up in November here. I don't know how that was gonna happen, but you called it.
No bias.
Yeah, no bias. I'm being a little bit tongue in cheek here, but I thought they were gonna be one of the best 3 or 4 teams in the league. I truly did, and I was like pumped to cover them, pumped to watch them every Sunday. And they're letting me down, man. They're a fucking tough watch. This is like someone making me watch a Big Bang Theory episode. I would rather do anything but, right? Like we're super happy about a 16-13 win over the Rams, right? Because any win is a good win in this league, and we get it. But like, they're tied in their division with Atlanta, who has a quarterback that doesn't throw. New Orleans is 1 game back, and they have some sort of Andy Dalton, Jameis Winston situation, plus like a total infirmary of a roster where everybody's hurt, right? It's just, I don't know. It's just the whole season so far has had such a weird vibe. I don't think it's too late to turn it around, to bring it back to Leftwich. We have to see a change. There has to be something that changes, or else it's too late. I mean,
wait, hold on a second. Not too late to turn it around. Like, what are you saying there?
Like to be a contender, like to actually do something
to make
a run.
You think they can be? You think like from what we've seen, you think they can make a run?
No,
like
not from what we've seen. Not from what we've seen.
Like
no,
this,
not
like
at all.
a completely different team walks through the door. Because like that's what I'm at. It's just like my expectations for this team is like if they make the playoffs and I would obviously they're going to have to host a playoff game.
Yeah.
But if they're favored in that playoff game, I'll be pretty proud of them, I guess.
But that's what I'm saying, Bo. Like I don't agree. Like I don't even necessarily agree with what I said. Like if I had to pick one, I think they're, kind of spiraling towards 8 and 9 or something like that, which still might. Well, that's not a great example because that still might actually win them the division. But if they host a playoff game, good chances they're favored because it's at home and it's Tom Brady, right? So If you
But
win
like
that game,
right
then
now, it's either the Cowboys, it's the Niners, it's the Giants. They're maybe favored against the Giants.
well, they're favored against. They're 100% favored against the Giants. They're not favored against the Niners, and I don't know about Dallas. Probably
Definitely not
as
the
well.
Cowboys are really good.
I mean, weren't they
Cowboys are
favored
good.
against the Ravens 2 weeks ago, for Christ's sake? Or like,
Yeah.
They're
like,
favored
yeah.
against the Seahawks this week, and I'm just like,
yeah, but like
I
the Ravens and
guess.
Seahawks are still different. Like,
yeah.
and Bo,
totally.
you got to
But the
chill.
point
man.
is, it's like coin flip-ish,
Yeah.
right? If they host a playoff game. Sorry, my point is, I don't think they're going to. I think Leftwich is way too stubborn, but I think it is possible if the offense adapts at least even a little bit. I think it's possible. I'm not picking it, but I would like to see something because we have to talk about him. So,
Yeah, and Bo, you got to chill out on my guy Scottsdale here for a minute. Like, all he said was not too late to turn it around. Turn it around means play better than they have. So I get it. Based on what you've seen, that seems far-fetched, but we all know, based on the players in that room and the coaches, everyone who has shown us, they won a damn Super Bowl, and they've got I said coming in this year, they have the AB Gronk losses are huge, but like in a lot of ways have a better roster. Jensen going down killed them, but they could absolutely turn it around and make a run. They can easily win the NFC South, and if they get hot at the right time, like they did in 2020, they could make a push to the Super Bowl. Absolutely they could. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. Some things got
like the
right.
Bengals were 10-7 last year. Like they were pretty average, and they should have lost that. They should have lost to the Titans, right?
Yeah.
And then who did they beat? They beat someone, and then Kansas City. That's bad. Oh no, they beat the Raiders before they beat Tennessee. Sorry. Listen. The Bucs have looked awful. They're a painful watch. I'm legitimately fascinated to see where we go from here. And this, starting off kind of the second half of the season with a game in Germany against this upstart Seattle team on Sunday morning. I don't know, man. There's just a lot going on with this team, I guess.
Yeah, I really wish Gronk was around just for the Germany trip, just for the
I know.
footage.
He's probably there doing beer fest or whatever.
Yeah. Gronk fest.
Yeah.
Okay. Last one. Who's going to be – so we just talked about the potential, how believable is in the eye of the beholder, apparently, the bow holder. Who's going to be the X factor for this team to turn it around potentially or not? Like the X factor meaning going to have a huge role in it either way. Who do they need? Who wants to go here?
It's impossible to get through this without saying Ryan Jensen, and Ryan Jensen coming back and being like Ryan Jensen of like yesteryear or season, however you want to look at it. Like he needs to be not only come back and be serviceable, he needs to come back and command this offensive line into having a run game, being able to protect Brady beyond Brady just getting the ball out quickly, letting plays develop. Like he has a big part to play. How he comes back and how much faith they have in him when he comes back basically is going to decide the season from an offensive standpoint.
Damn, man, like you're so right. I'm zeroed in on the same area, Bo, and I didn't choose Ryan Jensen. I have Nick Leverett written down, but that could be Robert Hainsey too. Because if Jensen comes back, I don't care how injured he is. Still, he is going to do all those things. Like he's just too much of an animal. Like Jensen will come back and be a major.
If he's
upgrade.
playing,
That left guard position, though, like what I saw from Nick Leverett last week is super encouraging because it is such a dramatic upgrade from Goodecki. Okay. Such a dramatic upgrade already. And this is like a journeyman practice squad guy who has tools and is familiar with the system coming in and showing that significant of an upgrade. It's on the coaches for not making that switch earlier, by the way. Like that is 100% on the coaches. And speaking of which, one thing that popped into my mind, I know I'm jumping around here, but the other issue is if you fire Brian Leftwich, who's going to call the fucking plays all of a sudden? I've thought about it. What is that
hopefully
actually?
Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honest to God.
Bring in Peyton, like bring Bruce down. I don't know. Anyway, but sorry. So I'm talking about Nick Leverett. I just think the importance of fortifying the interior of that offensive line would do so much good for this team. For whether they continue to run on first or they just throw every damn play, doesn't matter. If you got a clean pocket, I still think Brady can do damage in that case. So that's where I'm going. Same general theme.
Same vein. Yeah, the offensive line in general, I think, but Bo with Jensen for sure. I love that. I don't know if this is the biggest X factor, but for me, the one that I really want to see and become a bigger part of the team is Rashad White. He just adds a certain dimension every time when he gets a series. If he's catching a swing pass and making that first guy miss, he's a little bit more dynamic when he's actually running the ball. I really like what I've seen from him, and Lenny's just not my kind of back, man, and he's just not. I would prefer a guy like White, and if they're going to keep fucking hammering the ball on first down, well, then let's get a guy in there more frequently who can make someone miss and potentially, turn a 1 yard gain into 6, turn a negative 2 yard run into 4. Because, like I said, I have more confidence that the Bucs are going to keep doing what they're doing. So let's at least update the personnel a little bit and go from there.
Love that, Scotty. Really well said. Glad you hit on that one. 100% agree with everything you just said. And let's not forget, Lenny's even stealing all the checkdowns and shit. Like, Rashad White is an elite pass catcher now.
Yeah.
Like, he's that good, right? Mm-hmm. I've referenced it numerous times, but that's what Thor Nystrom, one of the smartest guys at evaluating college prospects entering the draft, said is by far his trump card. Is his receiving ability. He said he's so good, he's pretty much a fucking receiver, like McCaffrey-esque in that sense. So we haven't even seen him have the chance to do that, which again is an indictment on this offense, the fucking whole coaching staff. I hate to keep bringing it back there and sound like a broken record, but these are personnel decisions as well. We've been too preoccupied with all of their other horrific decisions. We haven't even had a chance to really hit on the personnel issues.
Yeah, right? And to be honest, we kind of haven't talked about it much. I think Bowles is pretty mediocre as a head coach. I think he's an excellent defensive coordinator, like literally maybe one of the best in the league. It's just different because, I'm bringing it back to Leftwich. We've talked about it in our group a little bit. Is it Leftwich who's doing this, or is it coming down the pike from Bowles saying what they want as a game plan kind of thing? Either way, if that's the case, if Bowles is letting this offense run like this, and Leftwich has all the reins, then that's kind of on Bowles. If Bowles is the one saying, we need to run the ball, we need to kill clock, we need to have long drives, that's on Bowles, right? So he's always come off to me as very old school in terms of running the ball, playing defense, which I don't necessarily agree with, but it definitely has its place in the NFL as kind of like a pillar of someone's coaching philosophy. I just don't know. I don't know if he inspires much. I don't know if the guys on the team think he's a great coach. That's just the vibe I'm getting. I
get the vibe. He's just like a player's coach, right? Like, I think that's why we're seeing Lenny get multiple chances and just like the personnel, basically going with continuity on the offensive line, not seeing that okay, Gadecki's not the answer here. I think it's really tough in this day and age of the NFL to not be an elite play caller or a great game manager. And that's basically what the Bucs have in a head coach right now. It's like you need one of those two skills to be one of the elite coaches in this league. And it's like you're either like the Sean McVays or you're the John Harbaugh, sort of just elite at being able to manage a game.
Totally. That's a great point. And those are great examples for both of them, like previous McVay, obviously, but Harbaugh, I love that. Yeah. And this coaching situation is unique, obviously, with Arians leaving, but it is interesting that they went Bowles over Leftwich with the two kind of incumbent coordinators, right? Probably because he had the experience, and Leftwich, it's not like Leftwich was getting demoted. He was still going to be calling the plays and everything.
I think Collin hit it on the head with I think they thought Leftwich was gone. Honestly, I think they legitimately thought he was in Jacksonville, and they're like, we're not going to shake it up too much.
Yeah,
I think it's because Bowles is like Scott just is a way better play caller than Leftwich, and I think they know that. Yeah. Like Leftwich needs to prove it more. Bowles has proven it as a defensive play caller. He's fantastic, right? The question that Scott's brought up here, and aptly so, is he cut out to be a head coach to lead an entire 53-man roster and everyone else in the organization?
And I can't make this any more clear. That is not a slight on anyone who is one of the 32 either offensive or defensive coordinators in the league, that they're not a head coach or head coach worthy. They're completely different skill sets. I don't even think of them one being higher than the other. It's just that's the hierarchy of coaching, right?
Yeah.
So theoretically, that's what you're supposed to do. And as we touched on, Arians left. They were put in a tough situation. Who knows if Arians left earlier than what they did? Maybe they would have put out some feelers and tried to keep Bowles as a defensive coordinator and try to hire someone externally, right? So there is a little bit of gray area to their whole coaching situation. But I would say, given the roster and the lack of changes that they made or that they have made both in game and week to week, that has to come on Bowles a little bit. It just has to. And I do feel like he's skating by.
Yeah, I wrote an article over at bucksgameday.com week and a half, right after the NFL trade deadline, saying why weren't the Bucs buyers at the trade deadline? Because so many people in Bucs Nation were furious at, you know, the Bucs didn't make a move. Why didn't they trade for Bradley Chubb? Yada yada yada. And ultimately, the gist of my angle from this article was Jason Light has done enough. Like he has done enough. He needs to do no more. He has put a team together that is more than capable of winning. And if they can't put it together, so I ultimately just blame the coaches. And I said the coaches need to figure their shit out because the pieces are there. And you know, this has been a theme of this episode, obviously already, inevitably.
Do you think as good as Bradley Chubb is, do you really think he would have been the piece?
I'm just using an example there. I think since
I think with
Shaq,
especially with Shaq Barrett going out, that would have been a pretty timely ad.
But no, because I think Bradley Chubb is getting paid now by the Dolphins more money than he's earned. Like, he's been hurt a lot. He is not like, that's a lot. I would way rather Shaq, if we're comparing the two, Shaq Barrett on his deal than a younger Bradley Chubb on his at this point.
Yeah.
For the next few seasons.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. They put the roster together. You need people with their systems and like, this is how we do it. It's like, no, man, this is a really tough league. You got to have more than one way to do it. You just do. So, yeah.
Okay, let's try and zip through this. This went a little longer than I thought. I was hyping up how we get to talk about the whole league, and here we are 52 minutes in on the Bucs, and we usually try to keep it under an hour. Let's just shift quickly to the NFL as a whole. Okay, move outside of Tampa for a minute. Let's start
Let's go rapid fire with this one.
Okay, so you want me to fire, or you want to just go around the horn and then discuss? There?
Quick little blurb.
Okay, so let's do most surprising first. For me, we already talked about it. I think it's the Seahawks, but mainly like Geno Smith. I think that is no one saw this coming. Not even the fucking Seahawks. Otherwise, they would have extended him because he's a free agent after this. So don't pretend like you knew what you were doing on that one, boys. You were shit out of luck because you traded for Drew Lock and had no better options. Turns out,
dude, there was a lot of sentiment towards Seattle being a trendy, worst record in the league play before the season. So the fact that they're, and also in that division, I think you could, San Fran's better than them, but they're right there. They look like a playoff team. That's a great one for sure.
They can easily win this division. They can easily win that division. I'll go quick. Justin Fields, just basically, you look at the stats on him from week 5 onwards, and it's just like, holy shit, night and day. Guy that's just like, we weren't sure if he'd ever throw for 200 yards and in a game, and like now he's like commanding in a loss to the Dolphins last week, winning NFC Player of the Month or Player of the Week on the first guy to do it on a losing effort. He's been like a joy to watch, and couldn't be happier because I think we are all pretty high on him coming in. Besides Scott, he's just like the Buckeyes guy. But yeah, I just really like Justin Fields so far.
I have to chime in here. Saying we were all like pretty high on him is kind of not doing me justice.
Yeah, facts.
One of my first draft articles I ever wrote on my own website was called QB1 with a big picture of Justin Fields, and that was me proclaiming that he is, and I'm not trying to do it, it's just we're on the topic. He looks good right now. That he was the best quarterback in this draft class.
Yeah.
But I thought he had the nicest, cleanest floor with the highest ceiling of all of them. I thought that the Niners should have taken him, and I was saying this before the draft, and I was saying I would take him over Trevor Lawrence even. Not saying that's going to be right, but I'm just saying a lot of people have dragged Justin Fields through the mud. So I had to pull up that article and take a bunch of screenshots. I haven't sent those receipts out into the Twitter sphere yet because I still think it's too early for that. But the reason it's surprising isn't because of Justin Fields. It's because of the shithole in which he is trying to lead a football team to wins. And the fact he's doing it in that situation, that chaotic situation, like they have 5 Byron Leftwiches in the building or some shit, that's what makes it so damn surprising, because it's so impressive.
It's awesome. Him really coming into his own these last few weeks, like, good for him, man. That's been great, and they've been kind of fun to watch too, to be honest. So that's cool. Biggest surprise to me. I mean, let's face it. There's been so many. A little bit off the radar. I'm going to say just how much of a dumpster fire the Colts are. I thought they were going to win this division. I thought with Tennessee's losses, Houston being terrible, I thought people hyping up Jacksonville was still at least a year away. I should have said something like that in our preview. I don't know if I did or not. Maybe I did. But I thought just by default, as like kind of a professional, trustworthy franchise with Matt Ryan, who obviously wasn't great the last few years in Atlanta, but he wasn't as bad as it looked, and he certainly wasn't as bad the last few years as it started in Indianapolis this year. But the fact that they are this bad, the coach being fired, like literally the other day, Frank Reich being fired, they put Sam Ehlinger in. He's awful. They said he's going to be the quarterback for the rest of the season. I don't know why you would proclaim that after week 7. You also have Nick Foles on the roster. Just the combination, all of it. I can't believe that it's gone this poorly. There was not, I don't know, from the podcast I listened to, from the stuff that I read, and from our conversations, I didn't get a lot of, evaluation of the Colts being a complete just mess of a team. So yeah, that's one for me.
Straight up shocking. Like, said. Like, even like all their strengths have become weaknesses. Like, they have Quentin Nelson, who's like almost like he's a top 2 guard in football, transcendent guard. Even he is struggling. I'm seeing clips of him getting beat, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on there? Like, it runs deep, and I'm shocked, man. The fact Matt Ryan couldn't get it done shows Matt Ryan is really cooked, because it seemed like the perfect situation. I thought they were potentially contenders in the AFC, a stacked AFC.
And they beat the Chiefs in one of the most ridiculous box score games of the year, right? But they somehow did it, and they thought, okay, maybe they can figure it out. They've been unwatchable. They have this weird game this week against the Raiders. Who the hell knows what's going to happen in that one? They're fucked.
For sure. Okay, we'll go same order as last time. MVP. I'm just going to kick it off so we go rapid fire. My MVP, or the MVP of like whatever, I think it's Howie Roseman and the job he did in Philly, man, rebuilding that team. And I think that's
great.
Immediately paying dividends. And I think coming into the year, before it even started, it was obvious on paper. We talked about it, about how dynamic they had the potential of being. I didn't believe, or not that I didn't believe, I wasn't sure or sold that Jalen Hurts could do it yet. And I'm still not fully, because we'll see what kind of competition they end up dealing with down the line. But boy, could this the product they're putting on the field on both sides of the ball couldn't be a stronger support for the general manager and the job he's done to quickly rebuild there and just deal with what he's got in front of him, and then go out and get what he needs. Unbelievable job building from the inside out.
Remember when they took Hurts and Wentz was all butthurt about it? And it's like, I remember thinking, like, you're fine, Carson Wentz. Like, they took a quarter, you know what I mean? You're the guy. You've been playing well. You've had a great start to your career. Well, Carson was onto something. I think Carson knew. I think Carson watched his own tape, and he watched the Jalen Hurts tape, because holy shit, look at how much a better position Philly's in with him versus getting rid of Wentz, right? So, I mean, don't even need to say it. It's like how much better Hurts is.
Yeah, shout out to them for also just like realizing like this is not just a 1-year thing, and we can be good for multiple years.
Yes,
like literally having the
going to get AJ Brown.
Yeah, going to get AJ Brown, just being like, yeah, we got to invest. Like, we have to invest. But, like, also, like, having the Saints over a barrel, being like, we'll give you Alvin Kamara if you give us our pick back. Like, and them not doing it, them just being like, no, we want 2 picks this draft. Like, they in the first round, like, they're going to be a problem for the foreseeable future. I can go quick. My MVP is Lamar Jackson. I'll let you guys go with your Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes takes. I think Lamar Jackson's literally dragging one of the worst offensive teams that has ever been assembled to a playoff spot, and possibly more if he gets, like, that's a team that, like, if they get hot at the right time, their defense seemed to have turned a corner last on Monday night as well too with Roquan Smith. Just the stats on Lamar just being the engine of an offense in an NFL, just it doesn't even make sense. It's Iverson-esque at this point.
Iverson-esque, I like that.
Great comparison. Yeah. I like the Lamar pick. I was more going based on who I think is actually going to win.
Yeah,
and I got Jalen Hurts, man. I think they're going to be like 16-1.
Yeah, they shouldn't lose.
Yeah, I think maybe the only time they're a dog is when they're at Dallas. But and that's like week 12 or 13, I believe. If I had to pick someone else, it would be Mahomes, especially with this Allen injury. Mahomes is unbelievable. And he's leading the league in passing, all that. I think it's still very possible that he wins. But if it is a case where Kansas City's 12-5, but Philly's 16-1 or something like that, and Hurts keeps accounting for 3 touchdowns every game, I think there's a very good chance that he wins it, which would just be absolutely incredible. So that's what I'm going with right now.
Yeah, sorry, I kind of fucked that up, not picking a player, I guess. So like,
we're going kind of themes. It's okay.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So we got. Most disappointing so far this year. I like
Tampa Bay Bucs. Let's move on.
Yeah. No shit. Right. I feel like that was the whole first half of the show. So like. Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos to me, like, mainly I'm zeroed in on Russ. I mean, Scott was way more apprehensive to crown them than we were, Bodan, like, because we've been on that what George Patton's been building there in Denver on the roster, guys like Surtain and just all these players he's put in positions that we've been hyping up.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson, not just on the field, off the field, everything he's done. And again, this is music to Scott's ears because Scott's been on the Russell Wilson cringe bandwagon. He's been the conductor of that train for years now, and I'm kind of like, oh yeah, really? Like now I'm just like, oh god, it's reached unbelievable levels of nauseatingness, and Russ is the most disappointing for me. You could throw Aaron Rodgers in there, Tom Brady, quarterbacks, man, vet quarterbacks getting stomped. Matt Ryan, fuck
yeah, a changing of the guard. I think for me, like I'll just piggyback off of that. Like my most disappointing was AFC West football, just in general. Literally thought that I would not miss a game of that. I'm very happy missing games of that. Definitely don't need to watch the Chargers. Like they're just injured, and when they are out there, they're just not going to put it together. The Raiders, who I honestly thought would be I have a fucking ticket that I wish I could cash out of the Raiders being the highest scoring offense this year. They are horrendous. Like
that's a fun bet.
Yeah, it was a fun bet. That would have been a nice little 4-digit little comeback, right?
Little payouter.
Yeah,
Chargers hurt, Raiders blowing leads, Broncos doing whatever the fuck, and like talk about people outthinking themselves before the season. Anyone not taking the Chiefs, like
totally.
Guess what we know? Guess what we've seen? And I know, I guess I'm kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth because of. I said how quickly a thing can change in this league, but we knew there wasn't going to be a Reed Mahomes drop off, which is really what it comes down to, right? So yeah, Bo, that's a good one.
Yeah, and like the cherry on that is like the Chiefs are like they're good, but like it's not fun. Like it's fun to watch them, but like there's no big plays anymore. Like it's not like the ball isn't zipping through the air for a Tyreek Hill 90-yarder anymore. Like, and that's just like the Kadarius Toney trade is not the solve to that for me. So.
It's the Mahomes show right now.
Totally. Point guard, like ultra game manager. I can pinpoint the ball anywhere on this field. And if you're open, even a sliver, I'll get it to you within 15 yards. But yeah, it's not as fun as the Tyreek Hill days. That's what I'll say about that offense.
Well, no, that team is a disappointment now. When you see how good Tyreek Hill is on his own and how good Pat is on his own, we all know Kelsey. Sure. I mean, those three together should have more Super Bowls.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Sorry, Scotty, go.
Oh no. I think mine would have to be biggest disappointment. I had a couple written down here, but I'm just going to go with Green Bay. The fact that they are not only just not the top of their division or, contending, they're out and out bad, and they've had bad injury luck. And I know that comes, but even earlier when they were healthy, they just had they have fucking no pop. They have nothing to them.
Not fun to watch.
Not fun to watch. Rodgers is like such a petulant kind of a dickhead. him and LaFleur relationship seems not good at all. And they're bad, man. And I once again, I spoke to this earlier about thinking defenses are, going to translate year to year. I was pretty sure about the Green Bay defense. They're not very good. They're okay. And, they just lost Rashawn Gary for the year, I believe, which doesn't help. Now they're being put in tough spots because they're behind in every game because they can't get out to a lead because Rodgers has no one to throw the ball and it's all related, or no one to throw the ball to and it's all related. But seeing the Packers this bad is really something else. Also, I took them in a wins pool that I had with my first pick. So that's probably where most of the disappointment comes from. But yeah, man, they suck.
Lots of candidates for most disappointing.
Dude, there really are.
And it makes me feel better as a Tampa Bay Buccaneers supporter and someone who covers the team, because I'm like, holy shit, Packers, Broncos, lots of
dude, the Bengals were in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. They're looking better.
That Chase injury hurts. It looked like they were starting to come together.
Up and down. They looked awful against the Browns on that Thursday night it was, whatever it was. They were
but then they come back and absolutely kick the shit out of the Panthers, right? Everyone, nobody does the same thing 2 weeks in a row. It seems like, right? Like, I don't know. So many group chats. It's like, how are they doing this week? They did whatever last week. It's like, well, just read the text. That's what happens every time. So anyway, weird league, very tough league.
And on that note, and I missed something in the intro. Not only did I not plug any of our stuff, but I didn't even introduce it as this is our 66th episode. It's our Ryan Jensen's episode. So that's a big one. We missed you, Big Red. Get back in here, fella.
No kidding.
Hopefully your sleep apnea is coming around and you're getting lots of good rest. And, yeah. So make sure, please, folks, whoever's listening, to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Bucs Banter YouTube channel. You can catch us on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And please check out my work over at BucsGameDay.com, the only Sports Illustrated website dedicated specifically to covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You see our Twitter handles on the screen. Hit us up with a follow there. We love to engage. Thank you for listening to the Bucs Banter podcast. We look forward to speaking again soon. Go Bucs. Prost.